Okay, thank you everyone for joining us and welcome to the SAFER SAFER question and answer webinar. Let me go ahead and flip through these screens. Just as a reminder, we have language interpretation services available. All right, so we will get started. All right, welcome everyone. So my name is Itzel Vasquez-Rodriguez, and I'm with the Office of Public Participation. And I want to thank you all for joining us today for this question and answer webinar for the Safe and Affordable Fund for Equity and Resilience Program, which is also known as the SAFER program. So just as a reminder, this meeting is being held virtually and it is being recorded and webcast publicly in English and Spanish. Main points will be captured by our note takers and will be uploaded to the SAFER website in the coming weeks. And we want to start this meeting off by honoring the groups who have experienced economic, environmental, and social disadvantages as a result of historical marginalization. We recognize that we're meeting during a very challenging time, and we recognize the impact this global pandemic has had and will have on marginalized communities. We also recognize that the country is reeling from the loss of yet more Black lives at the hands of unjust systems, and that many people are impacted by the fires that are raging across our state and also across the Pacific Northwest. And I just want to take maybe a moment of silence to also recognize those first responders for all that they do, including one of our SAFER Programs advisory group members, Don James, who's currently fighting fires on his home, Tolowa lands in Northern California. So if we could take a moment of silence and just hold all that in space. All right, thank you all for that. And thank you for showing up in the ways that you do. So I'm going to move on to our meeting guidelines. So thank you all for joining us today. I know there's a lot going on, and thank you for your patience as we work through this new virtual space and try and fix all the technical issues that we can in order to adapt to this current public health and environmental concerns. So we're trying to do our best to make sure that everyone can participate, and we're trying to make sure that this time is valuable for you all. So just some guidelines for today's meeting, and you'll see them here in both English and Spanish. For technical assistance and language support assistance during the session, please email safer@waterboards.ca.gov. For water board staff and advisory group members that are on the line, please mute yourself when you're not speaking. And then for those of you who wish to submit a public comment, you can fill out the online form. There is a link on this slide. And if you cannot fill out the online form for whatever reason, please feel free to email your name, your affiliation, the last 3 digits of your phone number, and indicate if you'd like to read the comment yourself. And then also add the comment topic with the subject QA public comment, and email all that to safer@waterboards.ca.gov. All right. Okay, and the instructions for filling out public comments are again on this slide. I just want to point out that the purpose of today's question and answer session is to provide an opportunity for members of the public to share their questions and comments and hear directly from State Water Board members and State Water Board staff, and from members of the SAFER Advisory Group, a few of which are on today's call. So we will try our best to answer questions, but if we're not able to answer your question for whatever reason, we are taking notes and we can come back to those questions at a later date. So again, if you'd like to submit a question or comment, feel free to email the information on the screen. It's your name, affiliation, last 3 digits of your phone number. If you'd like to read your comment yourself, and the subject QA public comment to safer@waterboards.ca.gov. Once you do that, you'll be given information on how to join the Zoom call, and you will wait for your name to be called during the Q&A portion of today's session. So we already have quite a few comments mailed to us. All right. So as you all are submitting more and more of your questions or comments, I would like to take this time to introduce OPP team member Kajal Gupta, who will share with us a brief overview of the SAFER program. Kajal, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Itzel, and hi everyone. My name is Kajal Gupta. I'm a SAFER team member and I work for the Office of Public Participation. I'd like to briefly review the SAFER program for folks who might be hearing about SAFER for the very first time, but also provide a refresher for folks who might be hearing this information literally all the time. Next slide. So, as a refresher, here are some of the main topics that are important to know about the SAFER program. A good place to start is Senate Bill 200. This established the Safe and Affordable Drinking Water Fund to address funding gaps, but also provide short and long-term solutions to water systems. Every year, the State Water Board will be adopting something called the Fund Expenditure Plan. The Fund Expenditure Plan directs how money from the fund can be spent. The Fund Expenditure Plan is based on a drinking water needs assessment. This needs assessment identifies which water systems are not providing safe water and the reasons that they may be unable to. The fund expenditure policy guides how the fund expenditure plan will be developed and implemented. This policy defines key terms, identifies who's eligible for funding, and what types of projects are eligible. So, with that information in mind, I would like to share with folks some upcoming SAFER dates, including meetings for y'all to participate and provide your feedback in. So, September 2020, we'll have a SAFER update to the board. On the 30th of September 2020, our 2021 advisory group member applications will be due. So, if you are interested, make sure that you submit your applications by then. October 2020, on the 2nd, we'll have a risk assessment webinar. On the 6th, we'll have a SAFER update to the board. And on the 30th, the finance dashboard will be launched. November 20th, 2020, we have a lot of 20s here, we'll have a cost estimate webinar. And December 2020, on the 14th, we'll have a risk assessment webinar, and we'll have our SAFER advisory group meeting with the date to be determined. So be on the lookout for that. Now, before we get into the question and answer portion of the session, I'd like to take some time to invite any current SAFER advisory group members to share their experiences with the SAFER program. For any volunteers that are out there and that would like to share, what does the SAFER program mean to you? What have your experiences been like as a SAFER advisory group member? And do you have any advice for folks who might be interested in being a 2021 advisory group member? Do we have any volunteers?
I could say something.
Thank you, Dawn.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity. It's been a very rewarding year. It's been quite a bit of work. I think you can be much more effective if you review the materials and come prepared. But I think we're set up with everything we need for success. The materials are coming ahead of time, and it's a really good opportunity to engage in discussion with others who are all working towards the same goal, but maybe have different perspectives or come from different fields or specialties. So very rewarding, and especially I think as we've gotten into more details, and our discussions have been in more small groups, so there's a lot of dialogue. So yeah, I would encourage anybody who is committed to the goals of the SAFER program to consider applying and being a part of this.
Thank you, Dawn. Your insight is really, really valuable. would Katie or Sergio like to share their experiences as well, if they're on the line?
Sure. This is Sergio. Um, I believe that the advisory board um, offers a really good array of different perspective, specifically from practitioners, community leaders that are experiencing lack of infrastructure with relationship with drinking water, but at the same time, a really helpful and healthy interaction with the state water boards. So together, the team has the great opportunity to actually come up with solutions and recommendations so we can better respond to the needs of the disadvantaged communities in those rural areas. This is probably a very unique program that is not happening anywhere. As far as I'm concerned, it offers a platform so everyone has the opportunity to provide input and feedback and to also provide recommendations so that we can be better prepared to assist families in need of these critical resources. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sergio. We really appreciate your words. Katie, are you on the line and would you like to share?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Yes, I'll echo what Don and Sergio already said, and I find the interaction really helpful, both to hear the perspectives from each individual communities, but also to hear back from the state boards on how they're incorporating our feedback. I think that's also something that we don't get to hear as much of when we're just in a normal participation process. We don't always see the results until you have a final document. And here I feel like we get to have a little bit more of that dialogue to really gauge what's being heard and what we still need to continue to work to understand each other better. I've been very grateful that all of my fellow advisory group members have been willing to listen. I think we've all shown a great deal of respect for each other. And so my advice to future advisory group members is please continue that spirit of listening to each other. It's really helpful to understand, as Dawn said, we're all working towards the same goals. We come from it from different perspectives, but we want the same things and at the end. And so I think also the more specific everyone can be with their feedback, and what is their specific challenge, because each challenge is unique, but it's hard to distill what those common elements are until you hear the individual challenges. So that to me has been very rewarding, and encourage future members to share as specifically as they can as well.
Thank you so much for sharing, Katie. Your experiences are very, very much appreciated. And frankly, thank you all for sharing. We really appreciate the advisory group members' time and dedication to this program. SAFER is a relatively new program, and advisory group members really are at the heart of it. Now, we can dive into the Q&A portion of this session. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Jessica, for the Q&A portion. Thanks, everyone. Jessica?
Thanks, Kajal. Before we actually move completely into the Q&A, I did want to tee off of what Itzel said earlier in the meeting, just kind of recognizing the different first responders, and also point out that we have water treatment and wastewater treatment system operators who are also actively working to ensure that firefighters have water and that communities have water. And many of these folks are actually sequestering from their families to ensure adequate water supplies during COVID and during these fires. And so just wanted to mention that there's some other folks that really hit close to home for the people we work with. So we really appreciate them as well, and wanted to make sure to make mention of that. So thanks, everyone. And we do have quite a few comments lined up here. So if you could bear with me for one moment to get to the beginning. Here we go. So This session is open to questions and comments for all SAFER related topics. We have State Water Board staff from some different departments and offices standing by, so ready to answer and respond to your questions. Right now we have about 13 questions or so to get through. We're scheduled to go until I believe 3 p.m. and Water Board staff are prepared to stay the entire time to make sure we can answer all of these questions. We're going to try and keep all of the questions though to 3 minutes. And then there's also the option for staff to read comments or questions aloud if people prefer. So just as a side note, if everyone takes their entire 3 minutes with Water Board responses of about 3 minutes, that gives us about 15 questions to get through. So we're right about there right now. So just trying to remind people to try and stay concise. So Itzel, do you want to start us off here?
Sure. Our first comment came from Horacio Gonzalez, who I do not see on the line. Horacio, if you are there and you're hidden under another name, feel free. And if not, we can move on to our next comment, which would be Jonathan Rash. So Jonathan Rash is up next. Jonathan submitted a question for this morning's advisory group meeting number 5, but we did not receive it. So Jonathan, please go ahead and ask your question now.
And it looks like Jonathan's on, but I don't see his volume or his speaker on, so I don't know if he is fully connected yet.
Ah, okay. Yes, I see that. Jonathan,
Well,
if you
looks like he's getting on right now. So if you could hold tight, we'll give Jonathan a chance to get situated and unmute himself.
And Jonathan, it looks like you are unmuted. The floor is yours.
Okay.
Ooh.
I wasn't aware that I had a question. I'm being unmuted. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let me start over. We had seen that you had submitted a question for this morning's advisory group meeting, but it looks like we didn't receive it. So we had your comment down to be addressed during this Q&A session. But if you don't have a question, that's fine too.
No, maybe you're confused. I submitted a question at the last one, but I don't think I've submitted one for today so far.
Okay. Yeah, no. Okay. Thank you for letting us know. So let's see. Next up, Horacio Gonzalez, if he is on the line. But it looks like he's not there. So we're going to go on next to Logan Largent. And let's see, I do not see Logan on the line either. So I will go ahead and read his comment. Okay. So Logan says, Logan is with the California Association of Mutual Water Companies. This comment reads, "We appreciate the effort that the State Water Board has made to accommodate the eligibility of mutual water companies for help under SAFER. However, our members, which have already accepted state assistance to facilitate consolidations or technical assistance, now face a tax on the grants used to facilitate those improvements. This can be remedied if language in the state budget acknowledges the 501c12 tax-exempt status of mutual water companies. The legislature has twice considered such language, and it passed the policy committees by unanimous votes in both the Assembly and the Senate, but has been referred to the suspense file in the Assembly Appropriations Committee. The state impact reported by the Franchise Tax Board is only about $800,000. Thus, the savings to the state of averting the failure of many small mutuals would be substantially less than the alternative costs of the state providing water service over time in areas where not-for-profit water suppliers like mutuals have collapsed completely. We are supportive of the provisions made in the SAFER plan to emergency situations as urged by the advisory group. However, we were disappointed that the plan does not include board member Sean McGuire's recommendation in relation to the upcoming standard for Chromium 6. That assessment of systems in potential trouble of not meeting a new MCL be conducted in parallel with its adoption by the Office of Financial Assistance. This process of planning for need of disadvantaged communities in the process of adopting new MCLs should pertain to all new drinking water quality standards being developed. So that is the end of his comment.
Thanks, Itzel. Looks like, do you want to jump to Stacy? Stacy is with us now.
Sure. So Stacy, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself, and the floor is yours for your next comment.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so sorry for joining late. I did submit a comment in writing, and I don't know if that was read yet.
It has not been.
Okay, great. Then, yeah, so I'll just repeat that. My comment is, I know that for your October meeting, the group is going to be looking at, I guess it's more of a question. The group is going to be looking at the affordability threshold, funding need, funding gap with respect to water system improvements and the affordability of such. And I was wondering if the timing is right, if there were a proposed way to determine that by a stakeholder group, is the timing right to submit that to the Safer Advisory Group email before your October meeting, or do you want to wait until you have that meeting or after that meeting? So it's kind of a timing and process question.
I think we would turn to some of our program staff. I don't know if someone from DFA or Drinking Water would be interested in letting us know your thoughts on that. Kristen, maybe?
Yeah, hi. For our October, we have 2 webinars, at least for stuff coming out of DDW, the needs assessment work. For October, early October, our first webinar is going to be focused pretty detailed on the results of our evaluation of potential risk indicators for our risk assessment, which does include affordability metrics and indicators. We will not be discussing or looking into thresholds yet, so that's not on the plate for October. The webinar that's scheduled for late October is to launch the finance dashboard that the University of North Carolina's Environmental Finance Center has developed for the state. So hopefully that adds some clarity there. I'm not sure if Michelle or Andrew wanted to add anything.
I guess the only thing that I would add is that we also really encourage participation in all of those webinars that we're doing, and that the information is available before the webinar so that people can look at it. So I hope we answered your question. If not, let us know and we'll try and clarify more. Thanks.
Thank you, very helpful.
All right, folks, and we're just going to take a brief pause because it looks like our webcast is a little bit delayed. So please bear with us just a couple seconds as we wait for more questions to pop over.
While we're waiting, Kristen, do you think you could walk us through your upcoming webinars that you're holding and what the topics of each of those are going to be? Since you mentioned
Sure.
you talked about the one, but maybe you can kind of tell us about the rest of them coming up for the rest of the year, please. Oh, Kristen, it looks like you're muted.
Unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Great. So we have quite a few webinars planned between now and the spring of next year. I'm trying to recall off the top of my head all the dates, but I just discussed the October ones. I think the next one that comes after that is a November webinar that's going to do a deeper dive into our cost estimate model. We just had one on that model just a few weeks ago, so you can find the white paper and the recording is going to be posted on our SAFER website. But we're going to talk about, for that cost model, specifically, there's a piece of that model that's looking at the resiliency and sustainability of potential modeled solutions, and how that's an important factor in us deciding which modeled solutions we're going to use for our cost estimate. So we wanted to talk through that a little bit and get some feedback on our thinking there. We're going to then have a webinar in December focusing on the risk assessment. Again, we're going to be looking at potential thresholds and weighting and scoring criteria for our final list of risk indicators that we'll be using for our methodology. So that will be the final stretch of our methodology development for that assessment. Again, we're trying to finish that up by the end of the calendar year because we need to actually have the results of our assessment for the fund expenditure plan early next year. Our schedule into the winter of next year is still a little TBD, but we do plan on sharing the results of all of our needs assessments with the public, walk through what our final methodologies look like, and make sure that we're being transparent on all of the decisions that have been made there. So hopefully that helps. Let me know if you want any additional detail.
No, that's very helpful. Thank you so much. Just want to make sure that everybody knows what we have coming up. Itzel, did we have another question or another comment?
We did. So we have a comment, and let me just find it so I can read it through. It is from Crystal Gonzalez with Clean Water Action, and she asked that we read her comment out loud. So I will do so now. She says, "Thank you for your time and opportunity to share feedback. I would like to emphasize what has been highlighted by the advisory group members in regards to the impacts of COVID on households and the ability to pay water utility bills now and into the future. It is important to continue having these conversations and addressing the need to provide relief for households and water systems." And that is the end of her comment.
Great, thank you. And just let everyone know, we had a little bit of a technical issue, and it looks like we don't have as many questions as we thought. So that was actually the last question / comment that we have for this round. I did want to ask, Adriana, did you have any comments you wanted to, or any questions you had regarding tribal outreach?
Yes, thank you, Jessica. We've been receiving a number of different questions regarding how the State Water Board is going to be engaging with and outreaching to tribes. So I just wanted to have this opportunity to give you all a little bit of an update on what we've been working on so far. So just as a quick update in terms of our outreach and communications, we have developed a tribal-specific frequently asked questions document that's now available on our website that has more information about how tribes specifically could benefit from the SAFER program. We've sent out this tribal specific frequently asked questions document to all environmental directors from tribes across the state. And in addition to this email communications about this new communications material, we've also engaged with the California Environmental Protection Agency's Tribal Advisory Committee regarding the SAFER program. So we've given 2 presentations regarding the SAFER program and engaged in dialogue with them, both about what are some of the best methods to engage with tribes, as well as answer some of the concerns and feedback that they shared with us. In terms of specific outreach to tribal water systems, I kind of wanted to give everybody sort of a big picture overview of how the State Water Board is going to be prioritizing our outreach. So in California, there are approximately 128 tribal water systems. As of July 1st, 2019, there were 7 federally recognized tribal community water systems that had public health violations. So 7 water systems that are currently not serving safe drinking water. And those 7 water systems represent approximately about 3,800 people. So our goal is to first focus on direct outreach and communication to those 7 water systems that are currently out of compliance. So out of those 7 tribal water systems, we have already begun engaging with one of the tribal water systems. And over the next couple of months and the next year, that's going to be our first priority, is to make sure that we are engaging with those tribal water systems directly, and that they are aware of the SAFER program, and that we have an opportunity to sort of walk them through whether engaging with the SAFER program might be something that their tribe may want to consider as a step to secure a long-term solution for their community. Once we have engaged with these 7 tribal water systems, our sort of second focus will be to look at what are the other tribal water systems that may be at risk. So as a reminder for folks who may be listening on the line, tribal water systems are federally regulated, so they have different sort of public health standards in comparison to California regulated water systems. So there may be many water systems that are still at risk. There are a number of different tribal groups that have been engaging in gathering information about the risk factors related to tribal water systems. And so the next focus of our work would be to figure out how we can work with our drinking water needs assessment folks to also collect that data for tribal water systems, to then identify where are the water systems that may be at risk. So as a big picture overview and a recap, we have begun engaging with those 7 water systems that are currently out of compliance. And that's going to be our first priority for the next year or so of our SAFER tribal outreach. So I just wanted to share that because I know many folks on the call and many folks listening in are have been curious about wanting to engage in this topic. And that's it for me, Jessica, if you'd like to move on to another question.
Fantastic. Thank you, Adriana. I don't think we have any others right now. So I think what we'll do is probably just wrap up early today. And for anyone who ends up watching the recording, you can always send us your questions through our safer@waterboards.ca.gov email address, and we will get back to you. So certainly questions and comments are not just restricted to these types of workshops and meetings, but anytime you have them, please reach out to us, and we're happy to get back in touch with you. So with that being said, I want to thank everyone who participated and to all the staff who answered questions today. And sorry, can somebody remind me? I apologize. What is our next related SAFER workshop?
October 2nd on the risk assessment methodology.
Great. Thank you, Kristen. And then as a final reminder for anyone interested in the advisory group, the application deadline does close for that on the 30th of this month, September. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.